Hi guys, in this video I want to tell you how I started wingfoiling and why it has become a passion of mine. A quick disclaimer, everything you see is a mix of footage from an old GoPro and a crappy smartphone, so be aware that the quality isn't perfect. Although I sailed on my father's catamaran at least once every summer, I had no real experience with other water sports until 2021. I've always been interested in doing something that is easy to transport and allows for spontaneous sessions. I then decided to give kitesurfing a try after I talked to a friend who was already into it. I took about 7 days of lessons in different schools around Germany, and during a holiday I even took a lesson in Spain in Tarifa. It was super fun, but this was very tough for me learning how to control the kite, and took a while for me to get it right. And then I also struggled with going upwind, and I always drifted downwind and needed to walk back along the beach. So I did a lot of walk of shames. What helped me there was going in the cable park with the wakeboard, but I never was able to go out in the water alone, and I always needed somebody to start and land the kite. And it was also very difficult for me to choose the kite size for the different wind conditions, especially as I couldn't practice in Berlin due to restrictions on most lakes. And around this time I started noticing wingfoilers on the water. And first I wasn't really interested in the sport because after spending so much money on lessons and equipment, I wasn't keen to invest in another sport. But I started to watch some videos on YouTube about wingfoiling and realized I could do this sport nearly everywhere, and this was a game changer for me. So I made a decision and sold all my kitesurfing gear at the end of 2022. So I got my hands on a couple of second-hand North wings, a 5 square meter one and a 6 square meter one. I started practicing on my own, and I was going to the Tempelhofer Feld with a skateboard, which is like an old airfield in the center of Berlin, and I was super surprised at how natural it felt right away. I really liked the direct feedback, which was quite different from what I was used to from kites. And after just half an hour, I was rolling back and forth with confidence, and within 2 hours I managed to do my first jibes and tags, and I was super hooked. I even invited some friends to try it a couple days later, and almost everybody was having fun right away. And by the end of summer 2023 I got a cheap inflatable board from Decathlon with 135 liters and also a used Gong foil. Unfortunately, the first 2 sessions on the water didn't go well, mainly because the wind wasn't strong enough. Then it got cold and I had to focus on my bachelor thesis, so I didn't have time to go out on the water. I started practicing again in early 2024 and was able to stand up pretty quickly, but I didn't get into foiling. But fortunately I came across a nice video from Leo Foils, who invited me to join a group of foilers from Berlin. And that's where I got lots of tips and met some great people who are also into the wingfoiling sport. And after getting some advice, I invested in a longer mast and even a larger foil for practicing. I also picked up a giant 9 square meter wing from Gong, which helped me finally get up on foil for the first time. But from today's standpoint, I wouldn't recommend buying a wing this big. It's just too heavy and bulky. My advice for beginners would be to get a wing no bigger than 6 square meters and start practicing in stronger winds around 15 to maybe 80 knots, depending on your weight of course. My main problem was that I was afraid to go out in strong winds because I remembered how dangerous kitesurfing can be, especially as a beginner. But with windsurfing I felt so much more confident, and after about 6 or 7 sessions I was able to ride and foil. Of course it still looked very wobbly, so I started working on my stance. And in the beginning I didn't use any foot straps because it was recommended in some YouTube videos. But I think the front foot straps helped me a lot later on. And what I really like about wingfoiling compared to kitesurfing is the fact that you don't have to do a body drag to get back to your board if you fall. In April 2024 I went back to Tarifa with my girlfriend's family. And instead of bringing my own equipment, I rented it from a school, which cost me around 550 euros for 7 days. It was not really cheap, but I really recommend it to beginners, because this way I was able to try different boards, different foils and also wings. And I learned a lot about technique and how nice rigid boards are. Riding in waves was also a new experience for me. especially when they are pushing you from behind. Once I got the hang of it, it was one of the best feelings ever. I also tried my first jibes, but unfortunately I didn't manage a single one. It's so much harder than on a skateboard. After that holiday I went on a road trip to Norway together with a friend, and I had hoped to be able to wing on a fjord, but unfortunately it was quite cold and not windy enough, at least for my skill level and setup. However, I was able to do a short session in Sweden on the way there and in Denmark on the way back. Now I'm back in Berlin and I'm still working on my first jibes, and my next investment will definitely be a hood for the colder days and a better board. I hope you enjoyed this slightly different content, and if so, there may be more foiling videos to come. Otherwise this will be probably it, and bye.